This is the way it feels to move through summer in Lululemon. Iconic Align softness without the front seam. For our smoothest look and feel ever, summer won't know what hit it. Stretch your limits in the non-stop flexibility of the new Lululemon Align No-Line Pant in select stores and at Lululemon.com.
Well, let's get into it. I'm producer Paul Caroli here with a little bonus episode of CityCast Denver. We're recording right now. It's Wednesday, July 2nd, late morning. I'm here with...
It's me, host Bree Davies. It's me and Paul.
Hey, Bree. How are you?
Good.
I think we were both a little upset yesterday because we finished recording our Wednesday episode with our friend Deep, which was so good.
Yeah.
And then this news broke that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Hello.
I felt a little blindsided. I was like, how did I not hear any inkling of this information before?
I'm kind of surprised you didn't. This is literally every person involved in this story.
I was watching the news coverage and was like, know that guy from kickball, know that guy from bands, know that lady, I was like, not to be that guy, but I'm like, this is just not that big of a city.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what happened? Tell us the news.
Yeah. So the Underground Music Showcase, the UMS, as it's colloquially called, announced yesterday that its 25th year, this month, will be its last festival as we know it. It's sort of been vague as to if it will continue, but as of right now, it's not going to. And Executive Director of Youth on Record, Jamie Duffy, Youth on Record owns 30% of this festival, which they helped purchase in 2022, said that it's just been unsustainable. It costs.
So they bought a stake into it, which was interesting at the time because they're a nonprofit that does like music education.
Yes.
And they bought into this music festival. And the other owner, the majority owner, is this Two Parts group that does events around town that people know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, full disclosure, I'm good friends with Jamie Duffy, and we've had her on the show before. And so I was a little bit surprised. But yeah, to that point, Paul, Youth on Record is a education organization that serves youth, but it's in the music space. And I think that Youth on Record saw this as an opportunity to build out what they do through the festival itself. I mean, can we teach kids how to run sound and run a festival? This is an integral part of a music economy. So it was a very exciting...
I guess in retrospect, we know now that perhaps these Two Parts people needed an influx of cash. I'm just speculating.
I think that that's a lot of folks in the music world right now on all sides of it. I know bands are struggling. I know venues are struggling. I know festivals are clearly struggling. Ticket sales are down across the board. I feel like, was it 7 news reported like Coachella didn't even sell out, and that used to sell out within hours from this like peak era in the mid 2000s when festivals were everything. And a lot of stuff has changed. And
there's so many pieces of this I want to ask you about, but I think that like as we know it is kind of the thing that is I'm seeing a lot of conversation about right now. And like the way they've announced this, like this is ending as we know it. The last one is later this month. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that as the way they've chosen to announce this?
I mean, I will say this is sort of what started the conversation with me and Jamie was last night. I was like very in my feelings about the announcement. And so the UMS Post said, no regrets, all encores. This isn't a slow fade. It's a final blowout. UMS 2025 will show Denver a weekend that people will talk about for the next 25 years. And I was kind of like, that's a really intense and abrasive way to bring this information that's not necessarily celebratory. For a lot of people are really bummed out. And so I had shared something like, oh, this was hard to read this way. And Jamie reached out to me and was like, this was a hard decision to make. And they genuinely felt that they wanted to announce it now. And I think she said this in a couple different interviews. Like, we didn't want to come out in September with an email that was just like, womp womp, it's over. She wanted to give people a chance to enjoy the last festival. I mean, also, I think it's probably a great push for last sales of tickets too. I mean, they're still trying to sell tickets.
I wonder, because normally this kind of thing has the opposite effect.
Yeah.
If you tell someone that something is dying and they only have this is the last one.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's like, oh, there's a stink on it, you know?
Totally.
You see that effect too, and then it just sort of like withers and dies.
I just got from her that this was a really tough decision and there was no nice way to go about saying this thing that you all love is tentatively over.
But they have made a choice here because the way they're framing it is like this whole all encores, one last celebration is like they're kind of projecting a feeling that they anticipated onto people. They're expecting people to join them in that feeling of like a celebratory last bash. Like, is that what you're hearing from people?
Not at all. I have to say, after I posted that and I thought, oh gosh, that's going to be a little bit controversial because I know folks on all sides of this, I got tons of DMs being like, this hurt. This didn't feel good. I don't know if I'm ready to celebrate. I feel very upset. And it brought up a lot of old feelings. I mean, this festival has been going for 25 years. It's had some highs. It's had some lows. It's had some controversy. It's, you know, it's also had this great rebirth in the last couple of years with the new stewardship. So it's a complicated thing. Denver is a very emotional place. We feel very strongly about our art scene here. And this just, I don't know, I just saw lots of different interesting posts.
Anything stick out?
I saw some venue owners on South Broadway itself being like, man, this just wasn't great for us the last couple of years. It didn't bring a
Oh, really?
It didn't bring a crowd that really understood our venue, or it didn't I think a lot of it was like, you only come down here for UMS, but like we have music year round. Where have you been? Kind of attitude, which I understand. It's weird. I also saw from some artists like, oh, I'm so bummed. I want to say like my husband is Greg is in a bunch of bands. I think he's probably played this thing 24 times through 10 different outfits. And he was just saying like, this was such a chance to get in front of, like, he's like, I would wander around and see booking agents from Arizona, from Utah, who were here to see what Denver had. And so it was really, at its highest points, a place for artists to showcase themselves on sometimes the biggest stage they might play in front of people that might help them further their career. And so he was just saying that was a big bummer. But then I saw a lot of folks saying like, I never got accepted to the UMS and I always felt like it was a little exclusionary. And
really?
I think a big criticism of it probably 15 years ago was that it was very rock oriented, very dude rock oriented, and hip hop acts didn't necessarily get any space at all. I talked to Kaylin Heffernan, my husband's bandmate in Wheelchair Sports Camp, and she said, you know, we were booked in 2013 on kind of a weird bill. We didn't really fit with anything else, and then we didn't get booked again for 6 years, when more emphasis was being put on the fact that the hip hop community felt like this isn't even for us. So it's hard for us to hear that this represents Denver when we don't think that it represents the city's music scene fully. I will say they have course corrected on that. They have done a lot of work to diversify the types of acts that you see at UMS. I would say there's a lot of folks behind the scenes working on that. Bruce Trujillo is one of the biggest influences, I think, on bringing in a more diverse array of acts. And I found that to be very apparent over the last 5 years. Like, oh, they did hear that criticism and they are correcting. Does that change the festival landscape and how many tickets you can sell? Not necessarily. You know, end of the day, it's still about money.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, certainly it's about money. I'm wondering what kind of like details around that, the business model that you might have heard or you might just know from your own observations. Well, like what was happening with this festival as a business?
I mean, Jamie said this to the Denver Post. Well, UMS's $1.4 million budget is still too much for Youth on Record to sustain, given that the entire organization only has $2.2 million of a budget in total for its full year. So that's a lot of money. And she's
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you have to think about is like, this is a festival that took over a whole section of a neighborhood. So we're talking about security for this festival. We're talking about setting up these stages and operating these stages and having security, lights, sound, you know, all of these folks. On top of that, you've got venues everywhere that like want free wristbands for their employees because they're working, but they also want to be able to go to the festival. Like I can't imagine what the comps are and how many comped tickets that they give out. Press people, band managers, everybody that comes along with it, that costs them. They used to give out a lot of tickets to the surrounding neighborhood because they were like, This is actually Ian Thomas Tafoya, who we've had on the show quite a bit, was a community liaison for that for a couple years, where he went out into the neighborhood and was like, hey, this is happening. We're going to be closing your streets off. People are going to be parking all over your block. Can we give you some free tickets? Also, here's my phone number. Let me know if things are too loud. Like, they really did a lot of effort in that, but it costs money. It all costs money. The other thing that I heard is my husband said, over the lifespan of this transition to streaming music, that's meant that artists have less opportunities to make money on their actual music, meaning they ask for more money and need more money from things that they can make money on, which is like live shows. And I think UMS was very transparent about that. We want to pay artists well. That costs money. So if you're not making enough money, you can't be paying artists what you believe that they're, you can't follow through on your own ethos if you can't afford it.
Yeah, we were having a conversation about this the other day about how, the secret to running a good business is not paying people well.
I mean, exploiting people is
unfortunately
a tale as old as America.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, good for them for sticking to their guns on that, I guess. I mean, I guess I'd like to hear from the folks who are actually like getting those salaries, if that's how they feel. But if that's what the word is, that it was a good paycheck, then that's cool.
Yeah.
Man, this is just like the story of any business is not doing well. It kind of has ripple effects in around everywhere. Like, as soon as something starts not going well, other things start not going well, relationships start falling apart. And it sounds like this is a festival where that's probably been happening for a while.
Anytime anything grows, it changes, right? You start if you listen to John Moore and Ricardo Baca, the co-founders of the festival originally, when they envisioned this thing 25 years ago, it was truly an underground showcase of artists. I can't imagine what the budget was in 2001 compared to the budget in 2025. But again, as you grow, it changes the dynamics. What does underground mean anymore? That's been a question I've seen people asking online, is like, is this truly underground anymore? Or is this just like any other festival? Like, it also South Broadway. I thought that was a really interesting comment from Joe Phillips, co-owner of Sputnik. He said something to the effect of like, South Broadway has changed. And the the types of businesses on here have changed, it for the better and for the worse. And Mutiny Information Cafe is the old Mutiny Information Cafe is empty right now. That's not great, but also like that's just part of a changing city, is part of a changing festival. A lot of it changed.
The Denver piece of the story, the South Broadway piece, is fascinating to me because Mutiny, you bring up, they moved down to Englewood. And I think it was last month, we saw a whole new festival start up down there. Indyhood?
Yes. Indywood, I think.
Indywood?
I tried to go. It was sold out.
Yeah. It seemed like it was a cool new thing that was happening. Yeah. And it's happening in Englewood. Mm-hmm. And now Denver's premier festival, Underground Music Showcase, is ending.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you make of this as a Denver story?
I mean, I think it's kind of representative of what we've experienced a lot in Denver in the last 25 years, which is like, we got cool to other people. We were cool to ourselves for a long time. And like, we had our little things and did our festivals but we got big, and sometimes success doesn't always mean sustainability. And it does have to, could UMS start again from the ground up? I don't know why they would want to do that. Could they downsize? Maybe. Could they curate in a different way and make it a whole? It's just like right now, what is the expectation for someone who's gone to the music festival for the last couple of years is this is a 3-day long extravaganza. I can walk down Broadway and see 25 bands. It's like massive. And it's also, that's what made it really exciting. So I don't know what the future holds for them, but that is a good point. Is like, the other thing I would just say too is about 15 years ago, as the UMS was really gaining traction, other little festivals started popping up in reaction to it. And that you're successful when when your haters want to create something else. And like, I am one of those haters for sure. I created a whole other festival because we weren't seeing what we wanted to see in bigger festivals. We weren't seeing ourselves represented in these festivals. And so lots of little festivals there was even that one that popped up in the middle of UMS, Mile High Parley. That was out of Mutiny. Mutiny was running their own sub-festival within the festival, which honestly, that's again the sign of a healthy festival, because you have engaged the community in positive and negative ways. That's how South by Southwest sustained for as long as it has. I don't know, its state right now is a little bit funky for sure post-COVID, but half of the appeal of South by Southwest as a fest goer and as a musician was all the other sub parties, the side parties, the outgrowth of it. And I think Nathaniel Rateliff is one of the greatest examples of that. Is that not only was he
local musician,
local musician,
breakout star
after like 15 years of the grind, but one of his most notorious UMS events was a backyard off the festival show. And it was during the festival in the backyard of this house that used to throw shows all the time during the festival. It was like a side show. So, growth and success also come with a lot of complicated things beyond just the money part.
Yeah, I mean, the money part, though, that is the thing. That's like the ticket sales were no good.
Yeah.
It was sluggish. Whatever there clearly was a time when this thing was growing. Because it started as that like $5 a ticket, one night only thing that John Moore and Ricardo Baca started when they were Denver Post reporters. And then at some point, maybe it was around the pandemic, maybe not, something changed and it got harder to make the numbers add up.
Well, also look at that time, $5 show in 2001 in Denver. What else is going on that weekend? Maybe 10 other shows. You might have a show at the Bluebird. You might have your competition is smaller. Denver 2025. What is happening this weekend? I mean, look, Red Rocks is one of the greatest examples. If you look at their concert calendar from 2025 versus 2001, they book that thing like 10 months out of the year now. There's a lot of competition, not just for this weekend, but for people's money for the full year. I think about our senior ad executive, Maggie Azzolini, one of the biggest straight up music fans I know. She was talking to me the other day about how she has to parse, like, I have this much money for 2 shows a month. 15 years ago, she might have had that much money for 15 shows a month, and she would have been that guy. So this might have just not been the big ticket someone was spending on. They were saving it for Outside Fest or Wu-Tang at Red Rocks, like they were going to spend. So I think the other thing is ticket prices have gone up and people just don't have the money to spend to do it all. Yeah, to do it all. Exactly.
But I think that's where I'm seeing a struggle with this is like what people want is the premier experience. They want the unmissable number one thing. And in Denver for the last 15 years, if you're a music fan, the UMS is that thing. That's the untouchable brand. That's the must-do thing.
But
more than anything else.
But are there headliners the must-do for you this year? I don't know.
Is that what it comes down to? Like, do the headliners matter more than the UMS brand to people?
I think to the average music fan, yes. I think to musicians that go to the music festival to see their friends, no. Which again was such an integral part of it for a long time. Was the music scene.
It was like a music community itself was.
It was we jokingly called it, I think folks called it summer camp. It was like, I went to go see all my friends at summer camp. But as it grew, that means a wider audience, a wider variety of audience. And that still requires, because the cool part about UMS growing was like that headliner might bring in a new music fan who also will wander down the street, wander into the High Dive, see a local band because they don't really go to local shows, and all of a sudden they're a fan of a local band. That was one of the magical parts about this festival, was introducing local music to folks that didn't really know much about. It's not that they weren't music fans, but like if you're not directly tapped into the scene, sometimes it's hard to access it. And this was a really great way for folks to access local music. And a lot of local bands really depended on that. Like I get to be in front of my biggest audience of people in Denver.
Well, do you think that's what broke down then? Is because they couldn't get those marquee headliners? They couldn't draw in the like average person that then becomes the fan of the local gem, the underappreciated?
I do wonder if that was part of it, because the cost is so much. Like I've booked a very small festival, and just the competition for a smaller level headliner and how much they require to pay, you might not be able to afford it. And so I think I'm not to diss any of the headliners that they've had. I think they're great. But if you're not reaching a wide enough audience, you're not selling tickets. And a wider audience means a bigger artist means more money.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't recognized anyone on their lineup for years. And I just thought that was because I was getting old. But
no, I think part of it too is music curation is sort of a lost art in terms of like where folks are hearing music before the festival. So I think a lot about the Indie 102.3 folks and how much they were invested in this festival because they wanted to help, listeners discover new music. Well, now you can just stream anything anywhere you want anytime. And like, you're not listening to someone tell you like, hey, go check out this band. Like, hey, this band is going to be at UMS this year. I saw them at Treefort. They're insane. You can't miss it. And I think that still is happening, but it's not reaching as big of an audience.
Yeah. Whenever something like this happens, whenever a business like turns in a way that this one seems to have turned, I always try to think about like, when you drill down, like it's money, but also like the people value money. People have a relationship with the dollar and it means something to them. So I try to think about what is their relationship, what is the core value that people are maybe not getting that they used to get. And it sounds like it's maybe that like connection with the local and the national draw.
Well, and the matching the ticket price
to
the expectation. I mean, maybe some folks just saw the ticket price and thought, I don't see a headliner up there that I really want to pay that for. So I'm going to skip this time, but I'm going to go see Khruangbin at Outside Fest, and that's where my money's going to go. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't think that it's for a lack of music fans or for a lack of a festival trying to do its best to meet what folks want. I think it just comes down to like, it's just really expensive. And I don't know, in a city where folks are maybe struggling to pay rent, this might just not be at the top of the list of the 5 shows they go to this year.
Yeah. I'm looking at the ticket prices for this year. And I'm sure tickets are still available because they're telling us they're not selling as much as they want.
Oh, absolutely. Please go. Please,
you can get a weekend pass for $130 plus a $20.65 fee. So $150 for the full 3-day weekend.
That's not bad to me.
I think it's comparable to Outside Fest, which is an interesting comparison because that's a brand new fest last year that then grew this year and had a beefier lineup. I
was going to say, I think they had bigger headliners
names for
sure. But I don't think that's an unreasonable price.
I wonder about, because the Outside Fest, like they had the partnership with the state that had because the outdoor recreation office wanted to have their like South by Southwest competitor when the outdoor retailer left. I wonder if this is part of the ripple effect of that because they're getting that big fat public subsidy from the state and the UMS. I mean, I don't think they're getting any money from the state for any kind of I think this is just a private business.
Also, I think that makes that competition that much harder. But I'm also thinking about, again, so in Boise, there's this festival Treefort that I went to from the beginning, or mid 2000s, mid 2010s, and their mayor was like on board early on. Was like, I see what this is about. I see how much it brings to this city. I was one of those people that had never been to Boise and was like, this place is really cool. And I'm here for a music festival to see my weird favorite obscure punk band from Rhode Island or whatever. But it grew and grew and grew. And I wonder if Denver had that kind of investment, not to say that they didn't, but I don't think that they're not getting money from the city.
And it's an option for the city. This is something the city could be. I don't know how you would do it. This is a question we should ask the mayor. I mean, we're talking to him on the 10th at the Colfax Indie Bash, which is, free. Come join us on the patio at Champagne Tiger. We should talk to him about this. He's got to be really disappointed about this. This is not vibrant, Mr. Mayor.
No, I mean, this is not a good sign.
To let a festival fall apart.
And we have our arts community contributes a lot of money, economic impact wise, to the city every year. What does no UMS mean for South Broadway and all these businesses next year?
Yeah, that we're already struggling.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to the mayor about it. And then I also want to hear from listeners because I know people have strong feelings about this. And like, we've had less than 24 hours to sit with it. So like, what do you all think about the way they're rolling out this news, this whole like last bash, all encores, pitch that they're making for this last festival? Are you planning to go? I don't know. What do you want to hear from folks?
I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your best UMS weekend story because I have these moments that are like, I will never forget from seeing this festival play. I mean, I had a really weird experience playing this festival, like in a good, there's a lot of stuff happening, but like I've had some really magical moments and I know that other folks have too. And I'd love to hear your favorite, wildest, weirdest UMS memory.
Love it. Love it. 720-500-5418. Text it to us or leave us a voicemail. 720-500-5418. Bree, before you go, tell us one of your memories, one of yours. Give us your best.
Oh my God.
Your weirdest, wildest UMS something.
I'm trying to I played it. This is kind of depressing. I played it the year of the Aurora Theater shooting, and it happened right when I was about to play, and I had to announce it to the whole Three Kings. Someone was like, "Hey, can you say this?" Like a moment of silence, and it was really awkward, but it was also I'm in a space with a bunch of people for a moment. I couldn't ask for a better place to be when dealing with something like this is full of a room, a community of people. And so, but I'll never forget that. It was a moment I had a microphone, but it was just a time. It just reminded me I'm right where I want to be, and I get to be with people I love, even in terrible times. So beautiful. It's sad, but it's beautiful. I've also just seen so many amazing shows. I think the hotspot is always the High Dive. Everybody knows the best place to play is the High Dive. It's always the wildest show, the sweatiest show, the craziest show. And bands know this. So when they get booked on that show, on that particular, especially a Saturday night or something, that line is always down the street because people know, I don't care who's playing, the experience is going to be insane. I'm looking forward to one more night of that UMS Saturday night High Dive experience.
Okay, yeah, you heard us. 720-500-5418. Call in. Let us know. We need to know.
Yeah.
What's up with UMS? How do you feel? All right, Bree.
Thanks, Paul.
Happy July 4th. Enjoy your long weekend.
You too. Thanks.